North Korea, 2004. Deep inside this secretive communist state, a train travels through a remote northern town. Then, suddenly,
in April of 2004, there was a massive train explosion in northern North Korea.
The explosion is so enormous, it registers a magnitude 3.6, equivalent to a small earthquake.
It killed several hundred people, destroyed a town of 10,000 people, left 2,000 people wounded.
According to the North Korean government, the train was carrying liquefied petroleum. But before anyone can discover anything more, the regime forbids further reporting on the incident.
A week later, they banned all use of cell phones in North Korea for 5 years.
Just what is going on in the rogue nuclear state? 5,000 miles away, one nation is following the incident with great interest. Meir Dagan is Israel's top spy, the chief of the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad.
Meir Dagan was a legendary figure in the Israeli security establishment. He had a reputation for being very brutal in what he was prepared to do in pursuit of Israel's national security interests.
North Korea behaving secretly is nothing new. But what intrigues Dagan are intelligence reports that a Syrian aircraft has now landed in North Korea. Contact between North Korea and the Arab world is unusual and highly concerning to Israel.
And that was when the Israelis started to take a closer interest in what was going on.
The plane is supposed to be delivering aid, but instead, it seems it is being loaded with the bodies of victims of the crash. And the bodies are being transported in lead-lined coffins and are carried by men wearing chemical weapon suits. This is extremely strange. Then Dagan is informed that the bodies in the lead coffins are not North Koreans, but Syrian scientists.
There were 12 Syrian scientists from something called the Syrian Scientific Research Center, their covert military research and acquisition center.
It raises a terrifying possibility for Dagan. Could North Korea be helping Syria to build a nuclear weapon? Dagan has to find out more. It becomes a top priority for Mossad and will eventually lead to one of the most extraordinary black ops of all time. 2 years later, a woman walks into a London hotel bar. Her arrival is noticed by a man who's been drinking alone. But this is no innocent meeting. The man is a high-ranking Syrian nuclear official traveling to London alone.
He comes to London, residing in a posh hotel. He has a meeting tomorrow morning in London, but he has the night or the evening to spend. He goes to the bar of the hotel and extremely happy that in the bar he meets a woman with a wonderful character.
But what the Syrian doesn't know is that he is under surveillance. Mossad had been alerted to the Syrian's visit when he checked into a hotel under a false name.
The Israelis dispatched teams of people to monitor him.
Unaware he is being watched, the Syrian continues to flirt with the woman.
And she's also impressed by him. He orders another drink and another drink, and he's confident that he has a wonderful way of spending the night.
But he is also unaware that the woman is not as she seems.
He doesn't know that this woman is a part of the Mossad crew, and she was there to keep him busy while her team is breaking into his hotel room.
The Mossad agents are members of the Neviot unit, experts in covert bugging.
The team specialized in breaking into hotel rooms.
It takes just seconds for the Neviot team to override the hotel room security. Once inside, they realize they have hit the jackpot. The Syrian official has left his laptop completely unguarded. Immediately, they go to work.
The Mossad was able to break in, get its hands on the laptop computer, and copy its contents off the hard drive.
The agents transfer the entire contents of the computer hard drive to Mossad HQ in Tel Aviv instantaneously.
They took all the information from the computer, and then they put devices on the computer to monitor any future activity from that computer.
As they leave the room, the female Mossad agent abandons the unsuspecting Syrian. Within 15 minutes, Dagan and his analysts are looking at the files in Tel Aviv.
What they found on his computer was really rather extraordinary.
On one folder, they found JPEGs that looked very odd.
Appearing on the screens in front of Dagan are hundreds of photos documenting the construction of a large industrial facility.
It was clear that this is an unknown facility, a huge one.
The building they saw was quite large, 130 feet by 130 feet by 70 feet tall.
Initially, the building resembles a treehouse on stilts with pipes leading to a pumping station. Later photos show modifications. And eventually, the entire complex is hidden beneath a huge roof. Initially, Dagan is unsure of what the facility might be. But then, it begins to dawn on him what the images are showing. He sees large industrial equipment inside the facility. It is an exact replica of something Dagan has seen before in intelligence images from North Korea.
They showed that it was almost an exact replica of the Yongbyon nuclear weapons facility in North Korea.
It was exactly the same reactor. The two were perfectly matched.
Dagan has no doubt as to what they have uncovered.
The evidence was overwhelming.
North Korea was building a nuclear reactor in Syria.
The potential for a nuclear weapons program in Syria is a direct threat to Israel's national security, and one that would have to be neutralized immediately. In 2006, analysts for the Israeli intelligence agency Mossad have uncovered information indicating that Syria, with the help of North Korea, is in the process of developing a nuclear weapons program. Further evidence from the confiscated laptop of a Syrian nuclear official confirms their greatest fear.
There were blueprints of the nuclear power plant. There were pictures of the nuclear power plant.
The Israelis even had photographs of Syrians and North Korean nuclear experts together.
It is Israel's nightmare scenario. A hostile nuclear power on its own doorstep.
Whoever is building this has only one purpose: to assemble a nuclear bomb.
Dagan is now certain there is a nuclear weapons program in Syria. But he has no idea where it is. Intent on finding out, he orders Israeli satellites to monitor potential sites. Eventually, they close in on a remote area of Syria called Al-Kabar, where some highly unusual communications have been monitored.
They intercepted a very unusual spike of telephone communications from this location at Al-Kabar, which is in the middle of nowhere in the desert, to Pyongyang, North Korea.
It was very far from the capital, Damascus. It was in a remote part of northeastern Syria, but not far from the Euphrates River and the border with Iraq.
Israeli satellites now pinpoint a large building at Al-Kabar. When they compare them with the stolen images from the Syrian laptop, it is a perfect match. Al-Kabar has to be the site of Syria's nuclear weapons program. Armed with the intel on the Syrian facility, Dagan goes to see the Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Olmert.
Mayor Dagan came to see Prime Minister Olmert and told him this dramatic news that Syria is in an advanced stage of developing nuclear weapons.
The Israeli Prime Minister immediately recognizes the seriousness of the threat.
Olmert said one thing right at the start, and that was the Syrian nuclear weapons program is simply intolerable for Israel. It cannot be permitted. This is an existential threat to Israel. This reactor has to go away.
The only way to be rid of the nuclear weapons program is to blow up the reactor. But first, he has a series of questions for Dagan. Most importantly, how far advanced is the reactor? If it is already operational, then a bombing could cause a catastrophe.
If the reactor is already active, then a full destruction of the reactor might cause an enormous environmental pollution poisoning.
But Dagan doesn't know yet if the reactor is fully operational.
The JPEGs were 15 months old, so this facility must be more advanced.
They desperately need to find out how advanced the construction is. That means doing something extremely risky. Sending someone in to take a look.
The next step would have to be risking the lives of operatives.
Olmert has only one group of men capable of operating undetected hundreds of miles within enemy territory. So he calls upon Israel's elite Black Ops unit. In English, they are known as the unit. In Hebrew, they are the Sayeret Matkal.
Sayeret Matkal is the highest elite commando unit of the Israeli army.
Sayeret Matkal in Israel is nothing short of legendary or mythical. It's essentially the top unit in the army. Their job is to go on special operations that are considered beyond the scope of your regular troops.
It's a unit modeled after the British SAS. SEAL teams are similar to it. Delta Force is similar to it. They're some of the most highly trained units in the world.
The Sayeret Matkal has one particular specialty: operating covertly behind enemy lines.
The expertise of Sayeret Matkal is to infiltrate enemy countries in silent intelligence gathering operations.
They've gone into Jordan, they've gone into Lebanon, they've done missions in and out of these countries undetected.
While never officially confirmed, it is believed that on an overcast summer night, the selected commandos prepared to set out on their mission. They head deep behind enemy lines to confirm the existence of the Syrian nuclear weapons program.
The Israelis have been very secretive about how they got there, but certainly they are very adept at using low-flying, almost silent helicopters.
It is understood they boarded 2 Sikorsky CH-53 Sea Stallion helicopters to travel at low altitude and cross the border into Syria. The commandos are dropped a safe distance from the facility.
Israelis were able to get on the ground within about a mile of this mystery building in northeastern Syria.
As the commandos set off, they know that no matter what, the Syrians must not be alerted to their presence. Once the helicopters are gone, if the Syrians discover them, there is no chance of being rescued.
But that was an extremely risky intel gathering mission. If there was a mistake made and they were compromised, that could have been war.
The Sayeret Matkal commandos come within feet of the Al-Kabar facility and immediately start intelligence gathering.
The unit did the intel collection on the ground, right at the site. That was extremely dangerous.
Collecting soil and water samples from around the facility is the most important element of the mission. It is the only way Israel can find out for sure if the reactor is operational.
If the reactor is active, then a very small portion, not lethal, but very, very small portion of radioactive substance would be found in the water.
Once the intel collection is complete, the commandos hide their tracks and prepare to depart. But then,
they were almost caught. They left the scene in the very last minute.
the commandos remain undetected. And with the mission complete, they return to Israel with the soil and water samples. The results of those samples will soon set into motion a series of even more dangerous, covert missions into Syria.